United States candidate Raul Garcia in the state of Washington. And I know you're wondering, why am I interviewing Raul Garcia? Because he grew up in Miami. So welcome.
Thank you, Grant. It's a pleasure to be here.
I met you you had an event at Casa Cuba in South Miami, and I was intrigued by your conversation. So where were you born?
I was born in Pinal del Rio in Cuba, part of Cuba that provides us the best cigars in the world.
When did you move to Miami or escape to Miami?
Well, we left Cuba, my mother and I, when I was 11. We went to Spain, waited for the political asylum. You okay?
I get all choked up. Go ahead.
I was going to say, you got a little water. No, so we left Cuba, went to Spain, where the Catholic Church asked for our political asylum. We were there almost a year, came to Miami November 30th, 1982.
Well, your anniversary is coming up real soon.
Yes.
They came here. What elementary school did you go to, or middle? Did you go to middle school?
Shenandoah Elementary, and then Shenandoah Junior High.
Here's some pertinent questions. Who was your favorite teacher in elementary school? Do you remember one?
Yeah, Miss Ephraim. She was tough. She didn't speak a word of Spanish, and I didn't speak a word of English. So we had to figure it out, and I had to figure it out fast. So I remember that like it was yesterday. It was great.
Your middle school teacher? Your favorite one?
Oh, René Rovirosa. He taught history. Great. Great guy.
I know you want to talk politics, but people want to know who you are.
Oh yeah, no, not a problem.
Okay, and then rumors are you went to Miami High.
I went to Miami High. Stingarees forever. Yes.
Who was your favorite teacher there?
Who was my favorite teacher at Miami High? Well, that's hard. Gosh.
Tough question, huh?
Yeah.
I don't want to know about. People in Miami want to know, and people in Washington, who's your favorite teacher? Because it's important. All right, Miami High at that time, were they great in basketball still back then?
Oh, yeah, we're second in the country. I remember we used to play Carroll City. That was a big competition, and we were ranked second in the country. Miami High was. Douglas Edwards was playing for Miami High then. My good buddy Jamel Martinez, who I grew up with.
Who was it? Do you remember the principal? Was it Diego? Mr. Diego?
Yeah.
His son played football for me at the boys' club in 1980. Yeah. He had two sons. Okay, so from Miami High, you went to what college?
To the University of Miami.
And your undergrad, what was your degree in?
In microbiology and immunology.
Do you remember any favorite teacher that you made a major impact on you?
No, I mean college was different, right? So you did a lot of more independent studies. I could think back to Dr. Snyder, who was my counselor for microbiology. He was probably my favorite. Yeah.
Okay, then you went to medical school after that. Correct?
I did.
And yes. Where did you go?
So New York Institute of Technology, College of Osteopathic Medicine, Old Westbury, New York, and Long Island.
And after you finished there, where did you do residency?
I did residency in the Bronx, emergency medicine residency in the Bronx. So before all this political stuff, my claim to fame was coming out in a reality show, Bronx 911, Life in the ER. And that was really fun filming that for a few weeks.
Bronx ER is tough, correct? A lot of patients?
Probably the best training you could have in the country, yes. Yeah. We had a lot of fun at St. Barnabas. That was it was never boring, any day.
How'd you end up in the state of Washington?
Sure. So I was always involved in medical politics, right? Politics, I've always been, I've been akin to it. I really have enjoyed politics. I've always thought that, when you have a seat at the table, you make sure that your people don't get the short end of the stick. And that was my thought throughout all this political involvement. In 1990, I get a great chance to be an intern for Senator Bob Dole. And that was my introduction to politics. So I continued at the University of Miami.
That was an honor.
Oh, it was a great honor to learn under one of the best senators we've ever had in the history of our country. And Bob Dole really knew how to pull people together to bring a solution forward, right? And he didn't care if you were a Democrat or Republican. He wanted to get it done. And that was the time, right? We played softball with the Democrats. We had dinners with them. We make sure that we work together for a common cause. Not a lot like the division that we have now.
There's no question. The division is hurting all Americans. So
you asked me how I got to the state of Washington. So I was very involved in medical politics, and they asked me if I would come to Washington State and help start a medical school. There had not been a medical school here in the Pacific Northwest for 60 years.
60.
Yeah. University of Washington was the only one, right? And so my first thought, and this is very honest, my first thought was like, oh, no way. I'm not going to go to Washington to get rained on in Seattle for 8 months.
It's not 7 months, but okay.
Well, the truth of the matter is, they say, no, wait a minute. We're talking about Eastern Washington, where there's 300 days of sun a year. You live in the high desert. It's like Las Vegas. So I came out here, and it is beautiful. Fell in love with the Pacific Northwest. Fell in love with even the rainy weather in Seattle, and stayed. I came for. I said, well, I'm going to come for a couple of years because we know that America runs on East Coast time. So I wouldn't live a long time in the Pacific Northwest. Well, as soon as I got here, it was falling in love. Of course, no one is perfect. I say that we all learn from all our mistakes in life. And unfortunately, I got divorced and remarried. And I fortunately...
Your first wife was from where?
From New York.
And you brought her to Seattle?
To Washington, yes.
And your new wife is from where?
From Washington State.
Well,
I mean, you
must love the state of Washington now.
I do.
She was lovely. I met her. She's wonderful. Okay, so before we get on, do you have children?
So we have 5 combined. We have a real Brady bunch. Yeah, that loves each other. Like this is one home for them. It's the only home, and they love it. We had 4 of our own, Jess and I, and then we kind of adopted a 5th one. She came from Spain as an exchange student, as a sophomore in high school, and stayed with us throughout high school. And basically, she's our 5th daughter.
She's a Spaniard. Does she speak English now?
Oh yeah. She speaks English. She's in Florida, actually, in college, in near Orlando.
Okay, so let's get back to medical school. It's quite interesting. So you're part of the team that started. What's the name of that medical school?
Pacific Northwest University of Health Sciences.
Wow. How many students how big is your enrollment now?
Oh, so I'm no longer with the school. I haven't been for a few years because I was asked to come down to North Carolina and open another school. But the school here is very successful. On the medical side, I think that they have 120 students graduating every year.
That's exciting.
That are going to very significant rural areas. They have other schools now. The university has, I think, a nursing program. It has a PA program. I heard some rumors that they're going to start a dental program in it. So it's really successful and something that Eastern Washington is blessed to have, and I'm blessed to have been a part of that startup.
So I have a little OCD, so you have to follow me. So
yeah,
you went to North Carolina and opened one there also?
So they asked me to help open Campbell University, the medical school that they have, and that one is successful as well. So at that point, back in 2012, 13, I had to make a decision whether to move back to the East Coast in North Carolina or stay here, and I chose to stay in the Pacific Northwest.
Well, your kids live there. Your wife's entrenched in there. How old are your children? Include the Spaniard.
Okay, so 26, 19, 18, 15, and 7.
How old's the Spaniard? So I get it.
19. 19.
Okay, so you went from 26
yeah, Jessa's son, yep.
to 7. Your
To
youngest.
7. Yeah.
Wow. That's why you vote. That's why we should vote for you. Okay, so what would make you better than the present United States senator? Why will you be so valuable to the state?
Well, we missed one little member of the family. So our son, our 26-year-old, has a daughter, and she is going to be 2 in January. So we are grandparents. So that's now the complete story. Why us, right? Why us?
Well, I don't mean you, because it's you, your wife, your kids are going to will make the impact. So what makes you more qualified than the other people?
Well, so Grant, for many years, we have had a senator here in Washington that has been a ghost 5 out of 6 years, right? So I would like to show the state of Washington what being a part of the state, even though I'm a U.S. senator, I'm going to be a U.S. senator from the state of Washington, right? Talking about the things in the state that make the state successful. I have a fundamental belief that the bigger body of government, in this case, the Washington, D.C., their main purpose is to make sure that our states succeed. So my purpose as a U.S. Senator would be to make sure that my governor in our state succeed, beyond the obvious things that we do in the U.S. Senate for the whole country, right? And I would like to be present here in the state of Washington. I'd like to be someone that people could count on for different issues, for different problems, and be a government of solutions. I think that we have spent too much time over the last few years in politics and created this divide that people double down on. How about creating a government who listens, first of all, and who is about solutions? And I think that me coming from medicine and not coming from politics could easily bring that to the table, right? As a physician, an emergency physician, my career, number one, has been to accept everyone that comes in the door, no matter what ideology they have. Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican or whatever race or whatever your ideology is, I'm going to treat you. As a matter of fact, I had an opportunity where I treated a policeman and a criminal in the same trauma bay, and they had shot each other, and I was able to save them both, right? So I come from a background of acceptance that has transcended to our children and me teaching them that people need to be accepted. Second, find solutions to problems and be effective. It is not so much about politics. Right now, what I am running for is to save that piece of the American dream that we all want to be a part of. I mean, I came as an immigrant, didn't speak a word of English, like I said to you, but I had opportunities because this is the greatest country in the world. And if you work hard, you could accomplish anything. Well, I want those opportunities for my children to be available, for my grandchild to have those opportunities. And I think that we are losing that spark of the American dream, of how special it is, of the pride of it, of the opportunities that come with it, creating bigger and bigger and bigger government these days. And that I can't be behind, right? Coming from a country where government controlled everything. I see us going towards that in this country, and we need to stop it.
When you say present, you talk about the United States senators. Then, what do you mean by being present? Is he not involved with the community?
She could probably walk down any street in Seattle and people won't know that she's our senator.
You know, we're blessed. Our two senators in Florida, Marco Rubio and Rick Scott. Everybody knows them. You don't have to agree with all of them, all their issues, but they're out on the street, whether in and down in the Keys, all the way to Tallahassee. They cover the state, and they're out there, and that's important.
It is very important. It is very important. I had the pleasure of talking to both of them. They are very happy that I'm running, and we're looking forward to working together in the Senate.
How many years did it take you to become a doctor? Training. How many years was that?
Well, 4 years of college, and then 5 years of medical school because I did an undergraduate fellowship. You know, got 2 degrees.
I'm sure I figured that.
So
that's 9 years.
So that's 9, and then 4 years of emergency medicine residency.
So if somebody asks you, what's one of your qualifications? If somebody asks me, you spent 13 years caring for people, saving people's lives. That's the experience you have to be United States Senator. And there are quite a few doctors between the House and Senate. Am I correct?
Well, not as much as I would like it to be, but yes, there are quite a few doctors in there. And when it comes to healthcare issues, right, you know, I talked about my 13 years of training, but I have been out since that training. It's going to be 25 years after medical school. So let's see,
38.
34 years in total of this medical career. And what it teaches you, and I'm very excited about joining the other doctors in Congress, is because we were taught service, right? That is our career. We provide service, and that is what government should be. But unfortunately, government, as Reagan said, doesn't knock on your door and says, "Hey, I'm the government and I'm here to help." You know, it should be about service. It should be about the fact that I am applying for a job.
That's exactly what you're doing. You're applying for it.
I am applying for a job, and I would like to get that job and fulfill it to the satisfaction of the people who hired me, which are the people of the state of Washington.
Okay, personal note. I don't have COVID, but this cold has not left me. I've had it for 2.5 weeks. What should I do?
Drink a lot of fluids. So let me tell you, we are supposed to be 2/3 water all the time, right? Our bodies are supposed to be 2/3 water. And I could tell you right now that me and you are both dehydrated. And if we would stick to that 2/3 water, our bodies would flow much better. And our kidneys would get rid of all this junk that we get every day. So hydration is probably the best advice that I could give you.
Okay, let's get back to politics. You know, in Miami, in Dade County,
yeah,
we have really great police. We have a great judicial system, and I can't say crime is low, but people are aware of it. How is state of Washington? How's that coming along? And are people moving out of Washington, or are they moving into Washington, the state of Washington?
No, unfortunately, we've had an exodus of people over the last few years here. And one of the big concerns is safety. Safety is a huge concern here in Washington state. We lack policemen in every city. We don't have enough officers. And I consider that a problem, right? When you show a sign of force, criminals are less likely to commit criminal activities. The second thing that we have here in Washington is that we have decriminalized drugs in our street, and people are using them
on the streets,
in the open, deadly drug use, which I can't fathom as a physician, that you could agree that this is good for them or our society. That is not compassionate government.
That was
Right?
voted on by the people.
No, that was voted on by the legislature. And the legislature made it pretty much not a crime to do drugs. They did come back in the last legislative period and said, "Well, gosh, we've gone too far. Let's correct it." And the way they corrected it, and this may seem coming from Florida, it may seem a little absurd to you, but the first time you're caught with drugs, you'll be recommended to go to rehab. The second time you're caught with drugs, you're really recommended to go to rehab.
Really?
The third time you're caught with drugs, you're really, really recommended to go to rehab. And then the fourth time that you're caught, then is a misdemeanor.
And misdemeanor, that you don't go to jail.
Right.
No.
Most of the time, no. So we have a safety issue. And of course, our whole country right now has an economic issue with inflation going up. And this is what's in the hearts and minds of every family in the state of Washington. And right now, I think that we are at a point that we are not as divisive as we think in our thought. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican. What you want is your son or your daughter to be able to go to the park and be safe. For you to live a fruitful life that is in peace and harmony, that you have enough resources to take care of your family. And it's gotten to a point here where the homeless issue in the state of Washington is absurdly high. And the solutions that the government that we have and we have had for over dozens of years is to provide housing for them. When I feel that the solution for homelessness is a triple play, right? We need to start with mental health, we need to start with drug addiction rehab, and we need to have the power as in the medical profession to be able to take these people out of the street and into a better setting where they get mental health and drug addiction rehabilitation and job training so they could come back to society as the regular people that they once were, where they could come back to their families. That's compassionate government, and that's not what we have. But I think the people of Washington are ready for a change.
People think the people that are homeless want to be homeless. 99% of them don't want to be homeless. They lost their home, they lost a family member, they got mental health issues, and it just keeps going down and down. So the plan that you're looking at is a great plan. I think in Miami-Dade County, they're trying to do that. But it's interesting. Seattle and Washington, state of Washington is beautiful. You have the Pacific Coast. Miami, Dade County and the state of Florida, we have 700 people coming in every week into Florida. And 3.5 million people are coming in here. And people would love to go to the state of Washington if the government gets better.
I think that we can change it. I think we could turn it around and again have an influx of people when we take care of our safety issue, when we make it easier for businesses to succeed here. It has become a really bad place for businesses to succeed. Even our Cuban buddy Bezos is moving back to Miami. He made an announcement. He's leaving
we
Seattle.
heard he bought a couple of houses here already.
Yeah.
He went to high school in Miami. I don't know if you knew that. One or 2 years at Palmetto High School. He's not living in Pinecrest or Palmetto Bay. I think he's moving to Miami Beach. Doc, should I get on any medicine? Just drink water, right?
You know what? You could get a consult from me off the air here. I see a couple of things that we may be able to help with. Yes.
Yeah. Lose 20 pounds. Your kids, are they excited about you running?
They are super supportive. I couldn't ask for a better family. From our 26-year-old to our 7-year-old, they're always defending us and supporting us and seeing what they can do. Um, even our 18-year-old.
Is that
He just started the University of Washington, and he called me the other day and he
that's
said,
the Huskies, right? University of the
"Yes,
Huskies, right?
yeah, and they're doing very well this year. They're doing very well." So he calls me the other day and he says, "Papa, I got to tell you, the last 3.5 hours where we talked in our classes how bad the Republicans are. Just that's what that was the conversation. So, can you please give me some ammunition to answer back to these individuals?" He goes on the topics that they were discussing in this class. But he is one of our biggest supporters. They all are, really. Even the 7-year-old. We ran for governor in 2020 and now for Senate, and I had to sit down with her and explain that no, we're not going to be governor anymore. We're running for the Senate, and we explained to her what that was, and she said, "Oh, okay. Well, I guess we'll have to go to Washington D.C. and do some good up there."
This is your 7-year-old?
Yeah,
That's pretty exciting.
yeah.
I don't look at you as a Republican. I look as you a Democrat. You want what's best for the state of Washington and the United States. So we wish you good luck over there. If you need anything, you call on Miami. And, we're bilingual. Que pasa, We're all good. And by the way, how many Spanish people are there in the state of Washington? And do you still speak Spanish?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I speak Spanish and Portuguese. And
where did you learn Portuguese? Through the years?
Through the years, visiting Portugal, one of the best places in the world, and certainly Portuguese language and the Portuguese people are fantastic. And anyway, my Spanish, yes, we have 13% Hispanics here in Washington State, and our county where I live is 51% Hispanic.
And
in Eastern Washington.
In the state of Washington, how many Republicans and Democrats are there, and independents?
Well, that's hard to say because the state is a non-party state, so you do not sign up for a party when you sign up to vote. But historically, there are more and more independents nowadays. I believe if we were going to see it through, I think we have about 38% Republicans. We have about 48% Democrats, and the rest are independents.
So when you run, do you run as an R, a D, or no party affiliate for the United States Senate?
No, you have to. You have to.
But when you register to vote, you do not have to put what party.
No.
So how do you vote for? So how do you vote if, like, when you go voting? How do you vote if it's not a runoff? If it's a runoffs, right?
So in the state of Washington, after the primary, the top 2 vote getters go to the general. It doesn't matter what party they're in. So you could have 2 Democrats or 2 Republicans, 2 independents go to the general.
Oh, that's great.
Whoever gets the top 2 votes, no matter what party affiliation, go to the general. So that's why we could afford to have no party affiliation in the ballot. Now, in a presidential ballot, presidential primary, you choose to vote Republican or Democrat. That you have to choose. You have to choose which party you're going to vote for. But that is the only time in the state of Washington that you're divided like that. Otherwise, no one has party denomination when you sign up to vote.
Great. Well, Raul, it's a pleasure. I'll see you. The election's what day?
Well, the primaries are in August, and the big one is in November next year. So,
well, if you need anything, you call on Grant Miller Community Newspapers. Everybody, have a great day. Thank you again, Raul Garcia.
Thank you.